We're going to just expand a little bit on our array here with our chocolate bars and add a little bit more to it. So we're actually going to add a if-else statement into our for loop, and it's still going to be sorting because why not? So in our for loop, I'm just going to delete this, so we're going to write something new. In here, we're going to create a little more text to it, and we're going to have it print out. So here, it's still here before I refresh. So instead of this hashtag for number, we're going to make it right first, like with the English word first, that's 1 ST, second is 2 ND, third is 3 RD, and then TH, 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 and so on, depending on the number here. What we're going to do and what we want to do first is we want to create a variable that is just called counter, and the counter is simply just using the I up here. So the first one is going to be 0, but we're going to add a +1 to it, so the first one is actually 1 instead of 0 because there's the zeros. That's not a thing, right? So we're just going to create a variable we're going to be using for this part. Next, we're also going to create a variable called char suffix, so something we're going to add at the end of our number that's being printed, and we're going to leave it empty. An empty variable that we can use and start storing information in. It can be written like this, or it can be written like this. So this just means that we are declaring that's a variable. Right now it's empty, but if you're kind of lazy and you only want to keep this, then they're doing the exact same thing. So we're just declaring it and creating an empty variable we can use later. That's the two things we need for this to work, besides, of course, besides our if statement here. The first one we want to do is if, let's do parentheses here. So if I equals, not assigning I, but equals 0, maybe I should zoom a little bit here. So if I equals 0, then we are going to go away chord. We're going to catch the char suffix variable, and we're going to assign a string to this. So in the case we wanted to kind of write this right, but we don't want to write first because the number is being printed from up here, but we want to add the st to the first. So that's the first part we want to do. We now want to use our variable if I equals 0, and it does for the first one. That's cool. So that should add it to this here, our text that we're going to write in the console log in a moment. Next one we want to do is the else if, and we're going to create a condition for this as well. So wonder what? If I equals 0, not 0, 1, then we're going to do a char fix for that as well, char suffix for this, and we're going to call that that's nd, like this. So as you can see, I can reuse the variable here because we started out with an empty one, and if it's 0, it's going to print out this one attached to the variable for the first loop, for the number when it's 1, and this one for when it's 0 and 1 and so on and so on. Else if we want one more, if it's conditional like this, and in here we are going to say if I equals 2, I gotta remember what the numbers are, then we want to add something to our char suffix. And for the third number, we want the RD at the end of the number. And if it's more than that, we just want to do an else. So if it's not one of these, then we're going to do an else statement. So fallback, if it's not any of those, we do this. So char suffix and this. And for the rest, we just want to add in the th. So that's kind of, like this. That's our if statement here, that it's going to do different things based on what number we're at in the when you're printing it out. And then we of course need to do a console log. So for each of our chocolate bars, we want to print something out. So let's just do something weird. My counter plus, and then we want to print out the counter, so it actually starts with the number. So I could also just, instead of typing counter up here, I could do as I did before with the parenthesis I plus 1, but now I just stored it in the data, in a variable, but same thing. I could just as well have done this. Same procedure, but this just looks prettier, I guess. So print out the counter here, and we want to print out the suffix, and then we want to just add a little bit more text. My blah 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 choice is, and then we want to print out the name of the chocolate bar that's in the array, and we still have the loop, so we can use the +i. So for each item, Snickers, Mars, and so on, we want it to print out. So let's just go back and zoom a little bit out so we can see the entirety of it. Array, doing the sort of the array, and that kind of might be weird if we're just trying to do something. We'll leave it in. We're doing our loop, so for each item up here, it's going to do a length, calculate and add one number, and then it's going to do the counter. So it says 1, 2, 3 instead of 0, 1, 2, 3. We're going to add a empty variable that we can fill out depending on if it's 0, if it's 1, if it's 2, and so on. Why is there a thing here? What did I do wrong? I forgot the if. So if else, I forgot the if here. So let's save and let's try and run this. And now we can see let's just add a little space here so it's more pretty. So my first choice is Bounty, Kit Kat, Mars, Snickers, and so on. So we're printing out this suffix for each individual, for the one where it says the I is 0 and one where it's 2. So now we're adding a little bit more complexity to our loops and printing out our array. That's kind of a way, and we can also do, instead of sort, to just show you a few, we can also do something called reverse. Weird. Maybe what it does, maybe it says Yankee first. Holy moly, it does. So it's reversing the array. It's not sorting anymore, remember that. So before it says Bounty, Kit Kat, something, something, but now we're reversing it from where it is. So reversing, so Yankee, Kit Kat, Twix, Yankee, Kit Kat, Twix. So it's reversing from up here. It's not doing the sort anymore. We just changed it to revert. So there's sort, reverse, filter, and many other different things we can add to it here. Just showed you one of them. You can go check out more. But this is kind of a way where we can add a little bit more complexity to our JavaScript, our code, our for, and so on and so on.